Comparing thousands of emails and meeting notes from city officials to what has been shared with the public, I noticed a few discrepancies. Even as we get more information, there are still a lot of lingering questions. Juanita Rosa, 85 years old, went missing from Hinckley. We were unable to reach the developer, but he still owns this property. So what's next is up to him. Across Minnesota, lake ice duration has decreased by almost 17 days in the last 50 years, and over the last century by almost 27 days. The city and have to close in about a year. And when it does, there's already a plan for what will happen to Duluthians' trash. And St. Louis County Resource Renew agreed for the trash to come here. You can now eat smelt cod in Lake Superior more often. However, there are still levels of PFAS. A Duluth man has now been cited in connection with the start of the Camp House fire.
There's just a lot of interest in wolves. You know, they're a well-studied animal, but people always want to know, you know, how many are here and where do they go and what happens to them, how big an area do they use.
Mike Strage has been the wildlife program manager for Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Chippewa for 3 decades. For the past 8 years, he's been tracking wolves on the reservation.
The primary part of my study is aimed at the adult wolves, and so I catch and put tracking collars on the adult wolves. And then members of the pack will show me in the spring where the dens are located. We've had a real good collaboration in recent years with the 1854 Treaty Authority that's doing a pup survival study.
Middle and high schoolers get to partake in this study.
This is my 3rd year working with Mike. I started in 7th grade. Wolves are just a really cool animal.
One early Tuesday morning, Mike met with members of the 1854 Treaty Authority, kids, and a parent chaperone to search for a wolf den.
No promises about what we find. Finley and JR have been on fruitless wolf den hunts before, so they know that we could strike out. She moved the den over the weekend, which is a whole lot better than moving it last night, which has happened to us before. So I have an idea where to go to look. Getting a pretty good signal off in this direction, which is basically the direction of her den.
The group hiked about a half mile, guided by the mother's tracking device.
Once we got within like 100 yards of the den, we spread out, all put gloves on, and then went towards where we thought the den was.
This den is near the Cloquet Forestry Center on the Fond du Lac Reservation and had 7 cubs in it.
It was a hole in the ground, which is I wasn't expecting that, given that she was out in the middle of a spruce and cedar swamp. She had found a little bit of a high ground and dug a hole in there. Pups were tucked down inside. This time, for a change, there was a back entrance to the den, and when we showed up at the front entrance, all the pups ran out the back entrance. That was a first for me, and we had a little bit of excitement, chasing 4-week-old pups through the woods and rounding everybody up. Finley, unload your pup with somebody. Give your second one to Easton. Come with us and help look.
Can you take both?
Here, give them. Parker, you got 2.
Sometimes it's kind of fun where you get to see all these little puppies. You can put them like that, running around, and they can be calm, and some of them can be feisty.
Whew, one of them pooped.
Once the pups were calm, data collection began.
Microchipping them, measuring them, weighing them, putting collars on them so we can track them and find more information about them in the future.
We'll put them on done, bigger, and then this last tab. Nice cut. So once this sewing right here comes undone.
I think the best way to teach kids science is, after they've done the lab stuff, is get them out in the field and let them do some field research, actually get their hands on an animal.
You will have to stretch it a little bit to get over the head, but try not to bust on the other.
I learned that it takes a team to put something together because just one person probably couldn't do that. Just because there's so many pups and there's so much stuff to ask about.
Do you want to take him? Yep. Just make it a little easier. Yep. Thank you.
Down into the wrist. It's a little bit harder because there's not quite as much skin here.
I've learned that wolves aren't as violent and bloodthirsty as people think they are.
24.5.
They can be calm, and most of the time they're looking for their own safety, like most animals do.
The students get data from Mike all throughout the school year and use that for science fair projects in the spring.
Last year we looked at, the overall movement of wolves 2 seasons, but this year we looked at den locations and how they moved due to the size of the litter and how many pups there were and human interaction.
I'm hoping to find a way to look at like how the storms and then the different size and type of storms like affect how the wolves move, like if a snowstorm and a rainstorm make them move differently, and then a rainstorm that has more rain or less rain, how that affects their movement.
As for the wolves in this year's study,
There's always the trick, trying to pose it for the perfect shot.
This right there.
the trail cameras show the pups have been moved to a new den where all the tracking signals are still strong for Mike and his team.
This is a really exciting project for us, really a milestone for the Nature Conservancy, and we think a win for nature and a win for people in Minnesota.
The Nature Conservancy has permanently protected over 12,000 acres of Minnesota's Northwoods in its largest land acquisition in Minnesota in 25 years.
We're excited about it because of its value, and especially its value for wildlife, for biodiversity, and for water.
With this acquisition, we've tripled the size of the Sand Lake 7 Beavers Preserve that the Nature Conservancy owns, and that fits in with the 40,000 acre greater forested area of public land. So it kind of filled the donut hole of missing when you think about the large landscape of land that is now protected and open to the public.
It's going to be open to the public for wildlife viewing, for hiking, berry picking, birding, and hunting and fishing as well.
The management plan has not been figured out yet, but a priority will be reducing wildfire risk.
12,000 acres is a lot to manage all at once, so we know for sure that the starting areas we're going to look where the Greenwood fire came through and it burned heavier, where there's not as much natural regeneration of trees, will be our starting point.
We're not just interested in this property alone, but also interested in the surrounding properties and the surrounding landscape. And we've been already partnering with many of the agencies and other partners in the landscape and restoring after the fire. We've already planted over 300,000 trees in the surrounding landscape, so we'll be doing more of that.
Conservation of this forest and freshwater habitat north of Two Harbors will help a variety of wildlife.
With the fire that was here, it creates a lot of new habitat and food for moose, so we're going to expect to see a lot of moose here. Other wildlife species as well. It's really great for birds. There's some rare songbirds that really like the kind of habitat we have here, like the lowland conifer habitat. So boreal chickadee is one species that is rare in Minnesota, and it's in this area. And so we're going to be thinking about that species and conserving it.
Although this is helping protect wildlife in today's day and age, it's also helping protect their future.
And it's just really important especially for climate change and making sure that wildlife and plants and animals can move as the climate warms, and it's just a big connected landscape.
This land will also be protected for its watershed values.
It's the headwaters of the Rainy River, so the water flows north into the boundary waters, into that Rainy River system that actually eventually flows to Hudson's Bay. And so the landscape and the property has a lot of peatlands, just acts like a giant sponge that helps hold the water and then also filter it and clean it for the water flowing north.
In addition to helping with the water quality, the 5,000 acres of peatlands are also important from a climate perspective. Peatlands make up around 3% of the earth, but store a third of its carbon.
We're taking all of that into consideration, and then with all of the tree planting that we will eventually do on the land, that will also sequester carbon, and as the climate changes, we'll be able to take an active hand in managing the forest to withstand that and not just be sitting and watching things happen. We'll be able to do stuff about it.